All right, finally, escalation level 3 is where we're getting to advance. This is where we're getting to being really, really successful with girls. And this is what I call invisible escalation. What you're doing here is you're not blindly moving things forward in escalation, and you're not moving forward to where you get a rejection. What you're doing now is you're moving things forward in a way that cannot be rejected and will never see a rejection. You're essentially escalating in a way that will never hear no. Okay? Or you're even escalating in such a way that she doesn't know the escalation is even happening. Okay? So here's an example. Say that I go to shake hands with a girl, right? Now you can have like the business handshake where you're shaking like this, or you can have what I call the man-to-woman handshake where you're like this, right? It's like turned a little bit, it's a little more romantic. Think of like a French guy that's gonna like kiss the girl's hand. It's a subtle thing, but now notice, if I shake a girl's hand and I turn my hand like this, I've communicated a man-to-woman vibe. Right? I've done that, but I've done it in such a way that the girl could never really object to it or react to it or resist it, okay? I'm not gonna ever hear a soft no. What I might notice is a slight tensing up, right? She might get slightly tense, and at that point, I'll know to drop it and stop. But she doesn't even know at that moment that I escalated. Okay, do you get that? So yeah, I'm finding out the information of where her boundaries are, how far I can push things, but I'm finding it out without ever pushing past it, okay? Even beyond that, before even the handshake, what if I wanted to take a girl's hand, rather than reach out and grab her hand, she might react negatively to that. Instead, I could just like, as a gesture, put my hand out like this, and then if she takes it, great. If she doesn't, I drop it. But if she took my hand, now I know where she's at. And then say she takes my hand, I might gradually like just pull her in ever so lightly. And again, if she reacts, resists that, I'll stop. But it was so light and so small that she doesn't even consciously know that she resisted it. Okay, that's the key area here, okay? So the idea is you're calibrating and you're paying very close attention to what the girl's doing, but the other thing you're doing is you're calibrating in micro steps. And you'll see when I escalate physically, it seems like I get physical very, very quickly, which makes it seem like, oh, I'm rushing to get physical. But if you look closer, you'll see that there's never a step where I made a big risk. There's never a step where I did anything really overt. It's instead of one step to escalate, it's 5 tiny little steps, all of which, if she were to reject them, it wouldn't even make sense to reject them, and she wouldn't even know that she rejected them, okay? So this is what I call invisible escalation. It's an escalation that she doesn't even know is going on, and you're almost calibrating before the fact. Another great one of these that I like to do is like in the bedroom, what I like to do is I'll like hold the girl, I'll hold like both of her hands and one of mine, and then I kind of run my other hand on her body. And the funny thing is, if she's gonna get tense or nervous at any point, what will happen is she'll tense the hands that are being held in my other hand first. So say I'm running my hand up her leg, she tenses up slightly, I just pull my hand back and don't continue running it up her leg. And then in her mind, she didn't reject me. She was just like getting a little nervous. So she didn't actually reject me yet, and then I pulled away right at that moment. So instead of it being like she rejected me and she feels like, oh God, this guy's pushing too hard, what she actually feels is, why did this guy stop? Does he not like me anymore? Is he playing hard to get? Or maybe this guy just understands me, he gets it, and the moment that it wasn't right for me, he pulled away, so we have this great chemistry, okay? So this is invisible escalation. It's not calibrating after the fact, it's calibrating before the fact. Calibrating before the bad response so that the bad response never happens, okay? So it's paying acute attention to the girl's reactions and where she's at, and even like thinking ahead, if she reacted this way, what is she thinking? What might she be reacting to in the next stage? And then making your emotions to escalate so small that it's not a big deal. The same thing could apply to verbal escalation, right? If you go in and your escalation verbally is, haha, you're hot, let's fuck, you're gonna get a very strong yes or no. But if you said something like, that's a very interesting look, yeah, I like it, right? That sort of thing, it's such a mild escalation and there's some slowness to it, right? So if I said that's an interesting look and she tensed up, I might not finish saying it, okay? So by making your escalation small or making them a little bit more, more subtle, rather than so overt and in your face, you give yourself this ability to calibrate. The other thing that I mentioned with the verbal is the more you pause between escalations, the more you can gauge her reaction, okay? So what I'm talking about here is actually not just going until you get a rejection and pulling away madly. It's this very robust and intricate sort of calibration system. But what it really comes down to is paying acute attention to her, making small moves, and moves that individually are not big risks, but when put together,